Thank you.
Thank you very much for your very good presentation. Now we move to questions. We are a bit short of time, but we have time for a few questions.
Thank you for the presentation. I have quickly 2 questions. One is, we heard so much positive about what docuseries does. In your analysis, have you seen any negative impact that docuseries has had? And also, what is the reaction of the athletes that are used to create this drama and all the essence that we were discussing?
Thanks, Aisha, for the question. Regarding the challenges, we have went through a lot of challenges in terms of producing docuseries, and maybe we were very positive about it because the results were positive, but still there were some challenges that we included in our project. But regarding also the players' reaction towards the introducing or participating in a production of a docuseries, it was very important when we went to the 2 of the case studies. The first one, The Last Dance, we have seen how some players they were not very familiar with the thing, and also there were some negative things in the other side in the Drive to Survive, like for Verstappen. He was not wanting the camera to be around him all the time. This is something that he didn't feel very comfortable with. But the good thing and the positive thing that when you try to do this in a football or women's football, and when we asked the same question to our interviews like Safia, there was some players at the beginning, they were not sure they want to participate, but when they saw that their peers participated and they saw the results, they were more familiar with the thing later, and they accepted, and they had the consent to film with them. But it's the same thing with how the player are important, because it's very difficult to have a docuseries with someone like Messi and Cristiano or someone like this. But on the other side, women's game players are more let's say friendly or down to earth, are not that difficult to reach out. So it's much easier to produce something with them like this. I hope this answered your question.
Okay, next question, Kevin Marston. Try to be quick and quick in your answers, because we have a 3rd question waiting.
Thank you, Tony. My question is on what I wonder is an implied contradiction. You say that willingness to watch, right? Willingness to watch is something that is correlated, it's high, right? Willingness to purchase or to consume, you didn't really observe that in your study. And I found that interesting as a contradiction in a way. Or is there a contradiction between those two? Particularly because in the world of OTT, it's not the club which is providing the docuseries, which is actually selling directly to the consumer. It's the platform which is selling to the consumer, who then is just subscribing and watches. So I wanted to know if you could develop just this, whether there's a contradiction there, and what does that mean for the business model?
Thanks for the question, Kevin. This is something was in our limitations in our study, where we mentioned that particularly with the willingness to purchase, we were looking to measure a pretty basic parameter that we'd seen in Erzet Al, which is a study on the impact of Turkish dramas on the Arabic world and how much it made them want to travel to Turkey. And this really was an inspirational framework. And we found it didn't carry so easily into football, because whilst you can just say the willingness to purchase from the country of Turkey, and that's quite an easy thing to say broadly, football, it's more, people are aware of the products, and there's not many products in the same way. And something we mentioned was we weren't sure if they were referring specifically to merchandise flying from Egypt or Mongolia to England to watch a game of Sunderland, let's say. And we did acknowledge in our limitations that perhaps we could have been clearer to what purchase we meant. That being said, the general willingness to purchase, I guess, can be seen as a very vague, bland, exploratory factor of our research. And I could say about the broadcast is quite simple. It's turn the TV on, just watch it. There's one product, much more controlled. And we found that those answers were much more clear than our willingness to purchase.
Thank you. The last question.
Thank you for the presentation. Congratulations. It's a very interesting topic. I have a question for, do you have a concern that because recent years there are so many successful cases in the documentary, so there will be an increasing demand of the teams or competitions they want to shoot a documentary? So like, for example, Netflix will increase their money, like they prefer to take a documentary for Newcastle United instead of shooting a documentary for women's football. Do you think it's a concern in the future? Thank you.
I mean, the answer is yes, as first, but I agree with the thing that usually because Netflix also and Amazon Prime, they pay a lot of money for filming such a product with a team. They paid for Manchester City and Arsenal, and Tottenham won 10 million English pounds. It's a big number that they might not pay for a women team. But at the same time, the thing is not about the team, it's about the stories. As Harley was speaking about Sunderland, when you compare the results that you gain from watching Sunderland or producing a product like the one with Sunderland and the product that was done with Juventus, you can see that Sunderland outperformed Juventus with very, very different high measures. And this is very clear that it's not about how the team is successful, it's about how your story are appealing to the fans, how you have a storytelling that is clear, that is not just a PR project that you are trying to have your product or your player or like having something to say like we are the best team in Italy, we are the best team representing Torino, but not showing the real aspect of or the real side of the story and having some drama, which is very, very important. And I don't want to go long, but just one point. Also in our interview with Safaya, when we were speaking about the stories coming from the girls in Africa, there is a lot of stories that once you see, and actually this documentary was not just about the players, but it was a way to include all the stakeholders, all people involving in women football in Africa, like players, doctors, journalists, people who work with the team, people who work as representatives. If you see these stories, how people can want to travel to play, how people love the game, this is something that is very appealing for fans to watch. At the end of the day, this is not a broadcasting thing, but it's more of a film product. So you need to have a good story, you need to have expertise, because to produce one documentary of 8 episodes like the one for Manchester City, you could film a long 1 year from August to August, and then you have to have a clear idea of what you are producing. So I hope this answers your question.
I can add on to that just very quickly. With the Arsenal All or Nothing docuseries about to be released, Martin Odegaard came out and said that the cameras were very distracting, but on the other hand, you had Mikel Arteta, the coach, saying that it was a great chance to show what we can do as Arsenal and how we do things. So there are different opinions within playing groups and conditions that are set, and they're not always aligned from the playing group.
Okay, thank you very much, Group 5. And now we proceed with Group 6.